Welcome to the YouTube channel for the Law Office of Barton Morris. I am Attorney Barton Morris. I've been a practicing attorney here in the city of Royal Oak and in the state of Michigan for the past 20 years, practicing criminal defense. And this is information that I think that you should know. Today, I'm going to talk about the #1 way that I believe an individual can avoid a DUI arrest. There's a lot of information out there about how to avoid a DUI arrest, but quite frankly, the best advice is to simply not drink and drive. Now, obviously that is somewhat obvious, but the problem is that when we say drink and drive, I think that we're also potentially referring to don't drink too much and drive, because it's not illegal to drink 1 or 2 drinks and drive. What's illegal is having a bodily alcohol level that is higher than a 0.08 grams per 210 liters of breath or 100 milliliters of blood. So then how do you know what your bodily alcohol content is? Let's say you're out at the dinner or at a bar and you've had 1 or 2 drinks, maybe more over a course of period of time, and you're not really sure. So if you're not really sure, the best idea is simply not to drive. Unfortunately, people think that they know what their BAC is, even though they've never measured it, and then they end up being wrong. So the best advice is to buy a PBT. What's a PBT? It's a preliminary breath test, a preliminary alcohol breath test. Keep it in your car. Then, anytime that you've been consuming alcohol and you want to know what your breath alcohol content is or bodily alcohol content is, simply blow into the instrument and it will tell you. Now, and usually when you've identified that you have a BAC that's higher than the legal limit, that's going to dissuade you from actually driving. Of course, it doesn't keep you from driving, but it's certainly going to provide you with the information necessary in order to make a good decision, as opposed to being completely oblivious or just not intelligent about what your true BAC is. I think it's important to recommend a good preliminary breath test. And one of the manufacturers that I recommend is LifeLock, Lifloc. They make an instrument called the FC10. These are instruments that are carried by police officers all over the state, by probation officers in court. They are very, very reliable. They cost about $500 and they work very well. I don't necessarily recommend ones that are cheaper. I've seen ones online and seen ones on Amazon for like $120, $150. I've seen my clients use them, and they've used them to their detriment because they're not as reliable, they don't work as well. I don't believe that the technology that they're using is as sophisticated and as reliable as the LifeLock FC10. So I would highly recommend spending the extra money. It's $500. It'll be the best $500 that many could possibly make, because if you're in the habit of going out and having a couple drinks, it is really indispensable. Just buy one. It's $500. Put it in your glove compartment and be 100% sure every time. Now, I have one. I've had one for many years. I can tell you that not only is it helpful to have one, but sometimes it's just fun to find out and know, like, what you want to know what your BAC is, even if you're not driving. You know, it'll tell you. You know, I've had it out at parties, and I've tested other people. We've guessed at what we thought their BAC was, and you know, this thing's going to tell you. Also, if you use it regularly enough, you will begin to understand what your body and how your body acclimates itself to the consumption and absorption and elimination of alcohol. So you will have a good idea, a much better idea and understanding about what your BAC is. And this can be very helpful, not only for making decisions as to whether you should be driving, but making other decisions as well. Carrying a firearm, for instance. You can't be in possession of a firearm with a bodily alcohol content above 0.02. There's different penalties for between 0.02 and 0.06, 0.06 and 0.08, 0.08 and higher. So If you have a firearm, it's very important for you to understand what your bodily alcohol content is, because it really makes a difference. It's the difference between a civil infraction and perhaps getting your license revoked or suspended for only 30 or 60 days, or it's a misdemeanor where you can get your license taken away for up to 3 years, in addition to having a criminal conviction on your record. So having this device is very helpful, and I highly recommend it. In my opinion, this is the #1 way to avoid a DUI conviction or conviction for being in possession of a firearm while you're under the influence of alcohol. Now, should make a note of the fact that it doesn't apply to marijuana. These BAC instruments do not test for marijuana, only alcohol, and it is illegal to drive under the influence of marijuana. As far as I know, there's not a commercially reliable testing instrument. There are some, there's saliva instruments. They're a lot more than $500. The Michigan State Police use them. They're still trying to determine what their accuracy rates are. I'm not at the level or at the point where I'm ready to make a recommendation for them. But you have to be careful with that as well. Cannot be under the influence of marijuana, which basically means don't drive after consuming within a couple hours after inhaling. It can be completely different for consuming it through eating it, which is a whole other video. Perhaps I'll do that next time. But for now, I'll stick with what I've provided thus far. Get yourself a BAC and avoid a DUI arrest. I'd rather make my money somewhere else instead of people getting on the road being intoxicated. And that is a true statement. My name is Barton Morris. Thank you very much for watching.